Number 7 says to find the area of the regular polygon. And so one of the first things you want to do is figure out what kind of polygon is this. How many sides does it have? So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just going to make a note of that there are 10 sides, just in case I forget. I won't have to count it again. So I suggest you always count how many sides there are. That'd make this a decagon. Now, one of the things we're going to do with these, if you remember from class, is we're going to put a center in there, and we're going to draw a triangle that connects the center to two vertices, to the end point of sides. You could draw that anywhere. You could draw it there, you could draw it up here, or any of these places on the sides. And we're going to figure out what is the measure of that angle. And the way you do that is you take 360 and you divide by the number of sides, which is 10. And so that equals 36 degrees. So that right there is 36-degree angle. So is this. That would also be a 36-degree angle. In fact, we could fit 10 of those 36-degree angles all the way around. That's why we did 360 divided by 10. Now, the formula for the area of a regular polygon is 1/2 AP. And A is a new word for us this chapter. It's called the apothem. The apothem is the distance from that center point to a side. And anytime we're measuring a distance from a point to a line, from the center to the side, we have to measure that perpendicularly. So with this triangle that we drew up here, this would be the apothem. As long as it did that perpendicularly, it's also going to bisect those parts of the triangle. It's going to split it exactly in half. All right. Now the P in this formula simply stands for perimeter. Every one of these problems is a little bit different, but in the end you need to make sure that you know what the apothem is, what the perimeter is, because you're just going to multiply those and multiply them by 1/2, and that will be the area of the full shape. So in this particular example, number 7, 8.5 is one of the side lengths, and so to find the perimeter, we're just going to take 8.5 times the 10 side lengths. So the perimeter is 85. So one of those parts is very short to figure out. The other part, the apothem, in this example, is going to take a little bit more work. So this big triangle that we drew up here, I'm going to recreate it down here. So this is that full triangle where this angle right here is 36 degrees. But then we're going to split this down the middle with the apothem. And so that's going to form two angles. This angle and this angle, they're both the same, and they're both 18 degrees. They split it in half. Furthermore, because we know that a side length is 8.5, I know the bottom part of this triangle is 8.5 all the way across. But what I really want is just one of these triangles, either the one on the right or the one on the left. And so I'm going to split that 8.5 in half, and we're going to say this side is 4.25, and this side is also 4.25. I know it might not look like it from the way I drew it, but that's where it's supposed to be. And so now I have a right triangle where I know some of the things about it. But what I really need to find is this distance here of the apothem. And so you have to decide, can I use the Pythagorean theorem, or do I have to use a sine or a cosine or a tangent to figure that out? And in this case, We don't know that much about the triangle, so we're going to have to use a sine, cosine, or tangent. Let me just redraw this slightly here. So here's A, here's the perpendicular symbol for A. This angle here is 18 degrees. And this distance here is 4.25. So in this case, if I wanted to figure out A, probably the best way to do that would be to use the tangent function, because the tangent of an angle is the opposite length over the adjacent length. So the tangent of 18 degrees is 4.25 over A. Because from 18 degrees is point of view, 4.25 is the opposite, and A is the adjacent. Alright, now I don't like A being there on the bottom, and some of you might remember what to do about that. And there's kind of a long way and a short way. The long way, kind of the regular way I guess, is to multiply both sides by A. And that way it'll go away from the bottom, it actually just moves over to the left side. And so I have A times tangent of 18 degrees equals 4.25. But I need to get A by itself, so we'll divide by tangent of 18. And so now those cancel, and I have A equals 4.25 over tangent of 18. So the shortcut version of getting A by itself, if we go back up here, is to realize that the tangent 18 and the A basically just switch places. We did a lot of those problems way back in Chapter 7, back in January, and so back then you might have remembered that you can just switch those places. Alright, so let's go ahead and type this in and get an approximate value for A. Let's get out my calculator here, and I'm going to type in 4.25 divided by tangent of 18, and it equals approximately 13.08, so I'm going to say 13.1. So now I have all of my ingredients to use the main equation. That main equation, 1/2 Apothem times perimeter. So perimeter is 85. So I'm going to have 1/2 times 13.1 times 85. Now, you can enter that directly as is, or what I would prefer that you do is try not to round until the very end. So if you have not pressed clear on your calculator, because you really shouldn't just press clear every time you do something, then you still have this 13.1 number in your calculator, but it's actually like 13.08 and so on. And so we're just going to press times 1/2, or 0.5, if you want to think of this as 0.5, times 85. And so the most accurate answer that you can get, if we just round this to one decimal place, is 555.9. If you did just type it in anew, like you pressed clear and you just typed in 0.5 times 13.1 times 8.5, you get a slightly different answer. You get, let me just type that in here, you get 556.75. And so you can see that they are similar, they're not the same, they're not too far off, but why do that when you can be as accurate as possible, I guess? And so our answer here is 555.9 square units.